Hi there, and welcome back to How to Sell in Any Economy. This is episode number 11, our YouTube show and series of videos based on our best-selling book. And when I say our, I'm referring to my rock star co-authors, Lee Cassells and Brownlee. Catherine's not here today, but joining me as usual is Lee Cassells. And today for episode 11, we wanted to dive into basically how to sell in any economy, which is chapter 11 in our book. And we didn't think of it that well because chapter 11 in the US means they're going bankrupt. So we want to make sure that we do cover how companies can pivot when things aren't going well. And I know that's the case for a lot of companies right now. So we had a whole chapter on how to adjust your sales strategy depending on what the economy is doing. But Lee, what's some of the advice that you give when things are really not going well? If the economy seems to be in a bust or a state of retraction, what can people do to adjust their sales strategy?
I think the first one is definitely look at your current customer base. So if you've got, I don't know, we'll just throw numbers out. Say you've got 1,000 subscribers or 1,000 clients or 1,000 members, whatever the word you want to use. During times like these, you might see a reduction or a slowdown on those people. Either they don't want to pay each month now, or they want to change their subscription model, or they want to cancel altogether. So right now is a really prime time to make sure you're fully engaged with that customer base, almost on a weekly, daily, whatever kind of period you want to contact them with. But really make sure they understand why they're still buying your service, what the value is that you bring to them, what the problem was they had originally, and also how can you potentially help them through this next stage in life, because it is uncharted territory. You're a business leader, you understand what's going on. Maybe they don't, maybe you have some insight that they don't. So you can also give advice possibly outside your own scope or outside your own business you would normally provide. So for me, that would be the first approach, would definitely be jumping in front of your current customer base and giving advice.
Love it. Couldn't agree more as well, because we've talked about this and we mentioned it in the book, of course, that the proactive reach out to the customers to make sure that if they have any needs that we can cover them, discover those needs, and just engage and show care. Sometimes a customer won't cancel because of that touch point where you can unearth other needs or reestablish the value they're receiving. So absolutely. Anything else that comes to mind in terms of how companies can continue to sell, preserve sales, even grow sales when the economy seems to be, retracting?
Yeah, I think the first one we speak about a lot, Stan, in terms of the first one has to be mindset. Like your mindset has to be business as usual. Has to be business as usual in terms of we were expecting to grow 10%. We still want to try and grow 10%. Our business was 30% growth. We still have to try and grow 30%. So just because the economy is doing something different doesn't mean to say your business can't still aim towards hitting those targets. The only difference now is just a different obstacle or a different door you have to go through. So maybe you could do $10,000 a month on Facebook and that would have got you to your sales target. Whereas now $10,000 on Facebook might not be the right approach. It might be something else you have to put your money into, or you might not have $10,000 on it anymore. You only might have $5,000. So what's the best way to use that $5,000 to still attract that clientele base? The worst thing, in my opinion, is to kind of sit back on your laurels and hope that in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, people will still remember your name. People will still remember your product. There's no way anyone's going to remember your name in 12 weeks if you haven't spoke to them, they haven't seen your logo, you haven't suggested anything to them, you haven't offered them advice, you haven't given them a solution to a problem. You have to be in front of them, and you have to be in front of them now.
Couldn't agree more. Love that. And in that chapter, we do discuss that Harvard study about companies that come out of a recession stronger, which, there's a 29% of companies don't survive a recession. A lot of those companies take years to get to pre-recession sales levels, but between 9 and 17% of those companies actually come out of a recession stronger. And as we recall, the two things that those companies do well is they reduce spending in a responsible way, they don't cut their spending so much that they now have a skeleton team that can't execute. And the second thing is they maintain marketing and advertising, as you said, because even if people aren't spending during a recession, we can still establish what we call share of mind, so that as soon as someone's situation changes or they're in a buying position again, then they're going to default to what we call share of mind. And share of mind obviously is the precursor to market share, but we don't get share of mind if we're not active in our advertising and marketing efforts. I just want to cover one more thing, and you kind of alluded to this, but I love it with the business as usual, because it's never the case that all companies are facing the exact same situation. In a bust economy, not every company is shrinking. In a boom economy, not every company is growing. So it's so important, the mindset of the leaders, the mindset of the sales team, the mindset of the whole organization can be to look for opportunity and not accept what's happening out there in the larger economy as their own fate. And you just have to watch what we call the customer spend pendulum. People are still spending. They just might go for a lower cost version. They might reduce their spending. They might change suppliers. But if you understand, especially in the business to business or B2B space, if you understand the change in your customer's behavior, you can adapt your go-to-market strategy to be relevant for them. And exactly as you alluded to, you still might grow your sales just by being a little more savvy. And you don't have to be an economist. You don't have to make predictions on the entire economy. You just got to know what your customers are doing differently. But I agree. Challenge the mindset that it's a bad economy. Never call it a bad economy, because then you've told your whole team, you've told your brain that good things aren't possible. So I do believe in business as usual. Great points. And of course, there's a lot more, but we wanted to give people some actionable advice, and keep these episodes obviously in bite-sized chunks. So great points, Lee, as always. And join us next time for episode 12 of How to Sell in Any Economy. Thank you.